Hello, everybody. Welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door. And it's another season review. Today, we are looking at Cardiff City, who, in year 2 of their parachute payments, they're done at the end of the season, have missed out on the playoffs. We're going to have a look at how that happened just quickly. This is, I think, like my 8th season review we've done already on the channel. We've got 30 teams to get through with my dearly departed and then my beloved Ipswich as well in the Premier League and in League One. So do check out the other season reviews of other clubs. Deep dive on every single club I cover on the channel. Fingers crossed, unless I'm writing checks that my backside can't cash. Let's get into it. And it was a near miss last season for Cardiff in their year 1 parachute season. You can see there, that's Lee Tomlin scoring in the playoff semi-final. They do win the playoff semi-final second leg, but in that first leg, Naskins Cabano stuck a free kick in for Fulham right late on. You can see at the top there, Cardiff finished 5th. They were kind of best of the rest last season, weren't they? With Leeds off in the distance, West Brom, Brentford and Fulham then duking it out for second place. And Cardiff and Swansea really kind of, as I say, best of the rest, with Forest tanking and dropping out of the playoffs at the end of the season. Remember that season, Neil Warnock left, Neil Harris came in, and it was somewhat a late run, some of it after the first lockdown as well, that got Cardiff there, but ultimately they were not to be successful last season. Which takes us to this summer and the recruitment. Let's have a look through. Kiefer Moore for a couple of million quid. I think that's a big thumbs up there. I think he's over 20 goals now for the season. Harry Wilson, well, Transfer Marks reporting quite a high loan fee there, but high calibre championship player. Hat-trick last week. Probably a thumbs up again. And then Ojo and Auzathoth, loanees from big clubs there, Liverpool and Arsenal, didn't really work out. So, as I suppose, a bit unfair on Ojo, who's certainly played more football than Auzathoth. But I don't think it would be unreasonable of me to conclude that those two haven't had the impact that Kiefer Moore and Harry Wilson have had. Phillips, well, he's played plenty, hasn't he? We'll see why he arrived when we look at the departures. Benkovic, no, didn't work out. In terms of the departures, look, Neil Etheridge and Callum Patterson for 2.5 million quid out the door. I think most people would argue for the price they got for the pair of them, that's not too bad. I understand Patterson's only 25, but and then a few frees there. Bogle, Ward out. Sang, Flint and Brown are interesting because they went out on loan. They're going to be back before the season has finished. So generally, I think recruitment-wise, probably, we can't go thumbs, probably a slight thumbs up there, given Moore has been so good, Wilson's output has been good. They raised a bit of money. I suspect I'll get comments from Cardiff fans saying they would have wanted more investment, more players, etc. But what I will say is, what they did well. I do accept the argument they could have added a little bit more to that recruitment churn. And here is the end, sadly, for Neil Harris, who at the point there, Wednesday 20th of January, when he did lose his job, I think he loses it a day later to be fair, Cardiff are in 15th position, and that is nowhere near good enough, is it, for a team that's been in the Premier League, well, as recently as 2 seasons back, and in the past 10 years, also a couple of times more as well. They need to be, especially within the period of their parachute payments, they need to be challenging higher up the table than that, for sure. Spotty start, look, lots of draws, only 3 wins up until November 25th. Then a streak, look at that, 4-0 against Luton, 3-0 against Huddersfield, 1-0 win at Watford, and then a 2-1 win at Stoke, defeating the derby against Swansea, and then another win against Birmingham. So maybe Neil Harris signed his own P45 there, because he basically said to the owners going into this bad losing streak he has, this club is capable of challenging in the division, and no one won away at Watford, did they? Well, QPR did as well. But some great results there, and then horrible. Look at that losing streak. There's an FA Cup game in there. Key games, you would think, for a parachute team against Norwich and Brentford, who are going to finish high up in the table. Then defeat to bottom side Wickham at that point, still are, and QPR at home. And that was it for Neil Harris. He was in there, I suppose, for pretty much exactly, just over a year, wasn't it? I think he arrived in November and he's out the following January. So, 13, 14 months essentially. Went on a run, took them to the playoffs, lost in the playoffs, left them in 15th place. And regardless of what Harris did, my sort of thought on it is they're already looking at, right, next season there's not going to be that extra broadcast money from the parachutes. That evens itself out. And they perhaps need someone maybe a little bit longer in the tooth, a little bit thriftier in the pocket. We all know what's coming, don't we? Here comes Mick McCarthy. So you can see there, Thursday the 21st, Harris out. Friday the 22nd, McCarthy in. Interesting. Very, very interesting. We heard rumours about, lots of Ipswich links here, about Paul Cook as well, possibly being offered something. But McCarthy was offered it until the end of the season. He'd done the Ireland job after leaving Ipswich by mutual consent at the end of the 2018 season. Been off to Cyprus. That hadn't gone well. Short-lived there. Cyprus, I'm pretty sure it was. And back in he comes. Obviously, championship, icon. What do you want to say? Mick, been there with Millwall in the early 90s. Then went off and did Ireland for the first time. Comes back with, was it Sunderland first? Yeah. Sunderland gets them promoted. Then back with Wolves, gets them promoted as well. Then back again with Ipswich and got close, didn't he? 6th place in 2014-15, and then the owner kind of took the money out and stopped being interested. So Mick is back in, and a few players added in as well. Caught myself out there, sorry. Perry NG in January, Johnny Williams, Max Waters and Brown, Sang and Flint do return. I think NG and Waters were done before Mick arrived. Check your timelines on that, I'm pretty sure they were. Johnny Williams is obviously a classic Mick McCarthy signing because he's had him about 10 times before, hasn't he? Right, sorry. And here comes Mick's winning streak, which I thought was going to be the next slide. There we go. And it was a brilliant opening. 2 draws to start with at 2 of his old clubs, Barnsley and Mill. He's 2-0 down at Barnsley as well. And then, after that, look at that. 6 straight wins. Bristol City, Rotherham, Coventry, Luton, Preston. And a big one against Bournemouth, which then puts Cardiff into the playoff spots. That was a direct rival. A draw at Borough. And then another big win against Cardiff. And look, 12 games to go. Cardiff in 6th position with Bournemouth and Barnsley just behind them. And that is very key because knowing what we know now, Bournemouth and Barnsley are going to really put their foot down between that period at game 34 and the end of the season. We're going to have a 7-game winning streak for Bournemouth. Barnsley's form has been pretty excellent, well, frankly, for months now, but there was another streak into the bargain there as well, not to mention Watford and Norwich. Basically, 4 of the final top 6 all went on good winning runs around this point. Brentford, Swansea, Cardiff all trended down at the same time, and that sadly proved to be the fatal slip there after a brilliant run. What is going to happen first, though, is McCarthy, at the height of Cardiff's league position, think of that what you will, does sign a new 2-year contract. So he gets the deal on the back of the winning streak. However, the playoffs do then fade away. We did that as a watch along the Huddersfield game. looked a bit drab. Late home defeat against Watford. Another 0-0. The goals are drying up. Great win against Swansea in the Welsh derby there. And then, look at that, 5 without a win. And again, I can only reiterate, this is at a point where both Bournemouth and Barnsley are going to go on good runs. You can see there, big gap in the end. Barnsley and Bournemouth 10 points ahead of Cardiff. We are recording this with 1 game remaining. For those people who pedantically comment, how can you do a season review with 1 game to go? Look, the story's not going to change over the last game of the season. Cardiff will either finish in 7th, 8th or 9th place. And we will look ahead. I suppose could go 10th, couldn't they? If Middlesbrough can win on the last day of the season. Cardiff actually are involved in one of the big relegation games. I think they're playing Rotherham, aren't they? So they're going to have an interesting time. But this story and the overarching narrative doesn't change. And look, I've got a lot of season reviews to do, so like it or lump it, we're getting it done today. But that was the slip, coupled with Bournemouth and Barnsley excelling, that meant Cardiff, having looked like they were going to at game 34, are not going to make the playoffs. What next then? Parachutes finished. Now, I know a lot of people think I make a lot of this, but I do think the biggest factor in Championship football and its competitiveness does lie within those parachute payments. And there's plenty of argument. To be honest, the only argument against parachute payments, that they're a great thing, they're the best thing ever, tend to be from very defensive fans of teams that have them, that sort of, I don't know, They don't seem to have the self-awareness to go, oh, well, the system's a bit broke. It's not our fault. We're profiting from it. But hate the game, don't hate the player. That's what I would say if my team had ever had parachute payments. But, look, they are a big factor, and Cardiff will not have them next season. And that will very much inform how they're going to run. Loans are going to have to be returned. Wilson, Ojo and Auzathoth. Obviously, a couple of them are probably not going to be a big deal, but replacing Harry Wilson and that output is going to be key. It did seem like quite a sensible decision at the start of the season to go down that route. You bring in a high-end player on a loan. There's no liability because you're not signing them permanently and dropping a massive sort of transfer fee. And if, as has happened, you don't get promoted, Cardiff are not going up, you don't then have that liability on the books. But Harry Wilson is the sort of player who can fire you into the playoffs, as he did as part of that Derby team on a loan there in 2018-19. So those positions in the squad, and particularly Wilson, the output, goals and assists, I think it's over 10 assists now and 7 goals. Yes, I know he did get a hat-trick on Saturday, if my numbers are correct. I'm trying to remember them. That does need to be replaced. And are we going to see some youngsters promoted? Perry NG came in January, he's 25. Kieran Brown has played a fair bit. Obviously, there's been an injury to Joe Bennett, the normal guy playing left wing back. Thomas Sang has played. Bagan. Harris scored. He scored a couple of goals this season. Coyle as well. And Max Waters. All there, look, 22, 19, 22. Now, we all know about Mick. He's very, very pragmatic. And if he has a long-in-the-tooth pro and a youngster, probably the long-in-the-tooth pro is going to start 9 times out of 10. But the youngster will be there. And if the youngster does something spectacular, they'll find their way in. He may or may not have that choice next season with Cardiff. But I mean, when you look through the team, Smithies, obviously Auzathoth is going to go back. By the way, this is the who scored most used. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the team next season or the team that even finished this season. But Morrison, Nelson, Bennett, obviously NG could come in there. And one of those players, Brown or Sang, have both played wing back as well. Volks and Pack, Ojo's not going to be around. And then Joe Royals, Hoylett, well, I think, has he been injured? Not been used very much recently. Moore, obviously, is excellent up top there. And then you're looking at Harris and Coyle, Watters, Johnny Williams as well, we know Mick loves. So it'd be very, very interesting to see what Cardiff are going to do next season and whether they have to sell anybody or whether they've got big saleable assets, really. Is there a player there that they can shift on for lots and lots of money? And you're talking 5-10 million quid? I don't know. You tell me in the comments. But it might be a quiet summer, let's just say, in terms of player acquisitions, in terms of big fees, unless someone can be sold for a big fee. Again, I don't know who that player necessarily is. So look, that is my view on Cardiff this season. Obviously, at their peak, it did look like a playoff push was on. Would have taken a hell of a run for Mick to see that right through to the end of the season. And ultimately, just those runs from Bournemouth and Barnsley at that time of the season put paid to it. I think what goes on next is going to be very interesting. McCarthy is a safe pair of hands, a very sensible, experienced manager. Yes, he's a pragmatist, so don't expect a load of 5 youngsters in the team and free-flowing football next season. It's not going to be that way, but as I say, safe pair of hands, sensible, and it's going to be interesting to see how he mixes Warnock's old guard, Harris's players, I'm talking NG, Kiefer Moore, etc., and probably those young players, and I assume he brings in a couple of new guys as well. Don't be surprised if he goes to the well of players that he's worked with before. That would be a very McCarthy thing to do. And then next season, as ever, down come 3 teams from the Premier League with 45 million quid parachute in their pocket. So every season it gets a little bit harder if you don't have that money. And Cardiff have had it, and they have not managed to make that advantage count into another promotion. Let's see what transpires next for the Bluebirds. Let me know what you think in the comments. As I was plugging, we have done the entire top 7, and my plan is to review all 30 of the clubs I cover. So if you want, you can check out similar videos like this already on Sheffield United. We've done Norwich, Watford, Brentford, Swansea, Bournemouth, Barnsley and Reading, and Cardiff now joins that list. So do get involved in the comments. If you're a Cardiff fan and you fancy sharing this amongst message boards for an outsider's view on what's been happening at your club this season and what might happen next season, then please feel free to do so. Help me out. Follow me on Twitter at Benjamin Bloom, etc. And all the good stuff, the plugs will come in the advert afterwards. Thank you very much for watching. That was Cardiff City Season Review 2020-2021. And it's a big over and out from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button and to be notified every time we upload. Ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another video.